Josh Olin has been a community manager at multiple places. He was the Call of Duty Black Ops community manager, and for League of Legends, he was let go after a few Twitter remarks about Donald Sterling.
All right, so here's what I'm going to say. Donald Sterling, piece of shit. And if I could get away with kicking that old saggy bastard right in his nuts so that they came up through his nose, I would do it. But here's the tweet. Josh Olin. Here's an unpopular opinion. Donald Sterling has the right as an American to be an old bigot in the security of his own home. Pause. Agreed. You do have that right. You have all that. You have every right. Here's where I think a lot of people took issue with it.
They took umbrage.
And this is where I kind of take issue with it. He's a victim. I find it really hard to believe that a guy, an old white guy with that much money, is a victim of really anything. I'm sorry. And I think that's, while I don't necessarily agree that Josh Olin lost his job because of that, because it's a fairly benign tweet expressing just his opinion. I mean, it's the he's a victim part that I think people really took issue with.
Do you think that's what it was?
Yes.
Or the fact that even, here's the thing, I believe it was done on his personal Twitter account, but he's still a community manager, and by that sort of stance, you're almost never off the clock. Some people are arguing that's probably why they just said we don't want to deal with this.
It is. I'm not saying that he's a victim part is why why he lost
You're
his
saying
position.
That's what put it over the top.
I'm saying that's what put it over the top in public opinion. Because that's what put it over the top for me. Because the first three lines of this, here's the unpopular blah, 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 bigot in the security of his own home. Fine, I can still hate him, but he does have that right. I think public opinion turned against him with the he's a victim, because calling him a victim is pretty fucking classless.
He should have been clear on what the victim part was,
right?
Because he was a victim in the respect that he had private conversations recorded and released. Right,
but when you just do he's a victim, period, that leaves
it leaves a broad range of interpretation saying, wow, he shouldn't have been, persecuted at all for what he said.
Now, yeah. I've always been, I always have to explain this to people. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom of repercussions. If you are doing this on a Twitter account that is linked to your job, yeah, if your job does not like how you're representing them, you're going to go, and I don't know that I disagree. I mean, it's a job, and you are working for a company that wants to project a certain image. I still just, like I said, all I can really say about this, because I read all about the Sterling stuff, and then I felt bad about reading about it, but it was just like, it's he does have that right. Calling him a victim is kind of tasteless.
It was the wrong, I don't want to say wrong form, because here's the thing. Freedom of speech, like you said, it doesn't cover the repercussions. That said, I am just cautious of when things like this happen, when you are now firing people. I'm trying to be playing devil's advocate, but also illuminating why there's also a lot of people pissed about Josh being fired. Because it's not like he said offensive things himself. He was commenting on someone who said offensive things, and that got him fired. So it's like, so now you're a full step and a half away from what was actually offensive to now you're commenting on it, in defense or not. So now what if someone now comes out and says, well, I don't think Josh Olin should have been fired for his commenting on something else that was offensive. Like, where does the line stop with that? Right. Where does it stop where you said, okay, can common sense come into this a little bit? Yeah, Donald Sterling's an asshole. Obviously, yeah. He was known to be a racist for years. Yeah. It's more come out. But that's beside the point. Yeah. So obviously, most states are what's called at-will employment, which means that you can be hired and fired at any time for really any reason when it comes down to it. So, should he have commented on this? I don't know. I don't know the relationship with him and Turtle Rock. I have no idea if he had something in his contract saying he wasn't allowed to tweet about stuff that was controversial. Obviously, he made a decision. Turtle Rock didn't like it. A lot of people were offended by it. He was let go. But I mean, at some point, this is more or less what has happened with social media and Twitter, that you have to watch the shit you say.
Exactly, and that's the whole thing. Because I not to repeat myself too many times, if he had let go of those one contraction and two words at the end, had he taken the minute to think, read over what he tweeted, and just tweeted that out, I don't know that there would have been as big of an outcry. It's how he worded it. It's how he did it in the heat of the moment. And the thing is you can't take back things that you do in the heat of the moment on Twitter. I don't doubt that Josh Olin probably is a perfectly fine guy who, I mean, he said he does not agree with the things that Donald Sterling said, but the way he phrased it and the way he put it out there, and you can't pull something like that back on Twitter when you have the followers that he does.
Yeah,
that's what got
142,000. By the way,
that's what gets you in trouble, and people don't think when they post stuff.
Yeah, he also tweeted about when you were raised in an era where segregation was perceived as right, that will stick with some people. Doesn't make him a monster. Now
see that I have, to me that
this is getting to a whole other issue.
Yeah, and I don't know.
The whole point was he's explaining his point of view though.
I know, but I didn't forgive my grandparents' occasional racism just because they grew up in that era. I think that's a bullshit excuse.
Here's the thing though. I did. My grandfather once in a while, talking old Italian, born in 1917, he said some stuff that was insensitive. But 1917. That's almost 100 years ago.
My grandfather was born around the same time. I didn't
look at my grandfather as racist. I honestly didn't. He said some really things that were almost funny. It's like, wow, you can't get away with saying that. But again, he's saying these things when he's 85.
It's not like I ever argued with him. I just got up and walked out of the room. But I still think that's an excuse. I mean, because my grandmother, on the other hand, got over that. She evolved beyond that. My grandfather didn't necessarily. So the whole "this is the era" bullshit, I don't buy it. Especially when you're dating a half black, half Mexican woman.
That's true. My whole point is that it's just scary. Social media is scary. Facebook's scary when stuff like this happens.
Holy crap! This is the most political discussion we've ever had on CU Podcast.
I know. Just because we should talk about this stuff more. But I'm in a position now. I have 11,000 followers. So I've said stuff that's offended people before. I remember, I think I said something about like the real Wendy and the Wendy commercials. I think I tweeted something about like how it didn't make me want to eat seeing her in the commercial or something, and people got offended by that. Some people got offended. I was just like, all right, I'm either gonna say something or tell jokes at some point or attempt to, and it's happened in my videos, saying stuff that's either off color or maybe some people don't like. You're gonna offend people at some point. We're at a point now where people feel they have a right to not only be offended but to punish you for being offended. And that's the point where it's like, who decides who does the punishing and who gets punished? That's what scared me. And that's where I'm going to try to leave that at.